Integrity claimer. All documents, social media posts, etc. are authentic and public records. Newton versus Kardashian, ad L. 1:24CV00027, United States District Court, Cleveland, Ohio. Crime fraud exception. Voluntary oral argument. Plaintiff Charles D. Newton. The attorney-client privilege does not cover statements made by a client to their lawyer if the statements are meant to further or conceal a crime. For this exception to apply, the client must have been in the process of committing a crime or planning to commit a crime. The exception may also apply in some types of civil cases, such as when a client is planning to perpetuate fraud or another tort. The line between criminal and civil cases can be blurred because some conduct, such as an assault, can result in both criminal and civil liability. In layman's terms, attorney-client privilege is suspended when a client is involved in an ongoing or future crime. The attorney must report it to the authorities. In the interest of transparency, I will put my cards on the table. Yes, reveal my hand. My not-so-hidden agenda is to move this esteemed court's hand, respectfully, and the officers of the court, the 12 counselors involved in this case, the defendants' multiple counselors. These pages have their own story to tell. Some defendants have as many as 5 attorneys representing them. This case is the epitome of David versus multiple Goliaths. Nevertheless, this oral argument aims to move all officers of the court to comply with the Ohio Rules of Professional Conduct and to invoke the crime fraud exception doctrine. For the past 7 months, the plaintiff has presented evidence of the adversarial dynamics he has had with the defendants over the past 6 years. It escalated to abduction, wrongful death, cover-up, and obstruction of justice involving his Ohio-based relative, Thaddeus Lawrence Coleman. This court's expedient denials of the plaintiff's crime fraud exception motions and requests for compliance with the Ohio Rules of Professional Conduct are equivalent to an unlawful gag order imposed on the officers of the court involved with this case. As case law describes it, it has, and I quote, manifested injustice. Your Honor, as you are aware, the plaintiff has brought 2 motions to this esteemed court. First, the motion for crime fraud exception, docket 65, June 12, 2024, timestamp 8:02 a.m. The court denied the 48-page motion in less than 2.5 hours later. Its order was timestamped at 10:28 a.m. Based on the facts and the law, since the court erred in its discretion, the plaintiff filed a subsequent motion. Motion for reconsideration of the motion for crime fraud exception on Saturday, June 29, 2024, again timestamped at 8:02 a.m. Yet on Monday, July 1, 2024, again timestamped at 10:26 a.m., that one was too denied. Interesting. I'm curious, were these motions your first consideration of your day? Nonetheless, the order stated, plaintiff's motion for reconsideration of the orders dated June 12, 2024, regarding the crime fraud exception presents no fact, change in law, or other circumstances justifying reconsideration. Therefore, the court denies the motion at this time. Your Honor, with all due respect to this esteemed court, this is not accurate. Please allow me to pause here if it pleases the court. I'd like to bring the court of public opinion up to speed briefly. In February 2018, I left Cleveland, Ohio for Los Angeles, California, aka Hollywood. After the well-received reaction to my first novel, a true crime memoir, Emerging Cleveland Strangler, the Murder Scratcher Untold Story, on the True Murders podcast by Dan Sabatsky. Dan would probably hit the roof when he hears about this true crime story, but I digress. I decided to pitch the novel to agents and producers for a full-scale production. A docu-series was the goal. That was plan A. Nevertheless, I needed something else unique for my backup plan B to help me break into the highly relationship-driven industry. I thought I had a brilliant idea to write a custom feature, the first movie for the reality TV megastar family, the Kardashians and Jenners. I know what you did to me. Tagline, a family secret to die for. Yes, it was inspired by the 1996 cult classic, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Now this is important. Make a mental note of the FISHERMAN in the lower right-hand corner. I pitched via Instagram DM to the entire family the horror/thriller starring Kim Kardashian. These are the actual images pitched via DM in November 2018. A mini storyboard. The movie's premise was after a sibling prank accidentally turned fatal, she mysteriously returned a year later and terrorized her family, one by one, disguised as legendary horror characters. The screenplay eventually included some dramatic cameos. The Mojo box office projections, it was an ambitious pre-pandemic box office projection of $1 billion worldwide. March 2020, Bait the Cyber Trap. Of course, I didn't receive a response, but in hindsight, I know they saw the pitch. However, later I began to notice some suspicious cyberstalking and experienced cybersecurity issues. To test my suspicion, I posed a movie trivia question on my Instagram page with this image of actress Meryl Streep. Guess this movie, followed by an emoji of red pumps. Defendant number 2, Kylie Jenner, posted this image the next day, March 12, 2020. Do you see her response to my movie trivia? She's wearing a designer bucket hat. Guess who's the designer? Prada. The movie is The Devil Wears Prada. Covertly, this defendant owned the sinister inference. Over time, I set many cyber traps in which the defendants repeatedly took the bait. These before and after scenarios provided a timeline and context. They are preponderance of the evidence that is now in the public record. However, the question is, why haven't you been told? December 2022. People come up missing. After my laptop was bombarded with malware attacks, I suspected my screenplays and intellectual properties had been stolen, including I Know What You Did to Me. This prompted a civil lawsuit in California. It cited several causes of actions facilitated by cybersecurity, allegedly by the defendants. Consequently, after the defendants and their attorney allegedly committed subordination or perjury in their responses to the written discovery and this disturbing video by defendant number 7, Kanye West, aka Ye, I filed to have the case dismissed without prejudice in December 2022. I also left California that same month. What if this was a cryptic message targeting me. On March 16, 2023, the Los Angeles Superior Court granted my dismissal without prejudice. If I chose to, I could resume the case later. 1 month later, something ominous happened. April 14th, 2023. Thaddeus Lawrence Coleman missing. On April 14th, 2023, in Ohio, my first cousin, Thaddeus Lawrence Coleman, 33, was reported missing by his mother to the East Cleveland Police Department. Tragically, on April 29th, 2023, a fisherman discovered his corpse floating in Lake Erie Marina, some 6 miles from his home. What a tragic outcome that no one saw coming. The coroner ruled his death a suicide. But the more details I heard surrounding his disappearance and later recovery from Lake Erie, there were red flags all over the place. Why did he abandon his car at Forest Hill Park to walk nearly 6 miles to the marina and plunge into Lake Erie? Thaddeus was a hefty young man, so that's not likely. Why not do it right at the park? It has a large pond. He and his mother were very close. He never indicated to her he was suicidal. These troubling questions and facts pointed more to foul play rather than suicide. Initially, I was in Texas staying with a family member, then later secured a roommate. After some private investigation by yours truly, I discovered disturbing social media posts from the defendants. Like evidence on a crime board, it didn't take much to find a sinister timeline and context. The evolving puzzle, like a police siren, were blaring abduction and foul play. Let us go back to 2 weeks before TLC's disappearance. March 27th, 2023. The mysterious fish scales jumpsuit. As a Google certified data analyst, we're trained to analyze data to find the hidden message or story. If you recall, on March 16, 2023, the Los Angeles Superior Court granted my dismissal without prejudice to the civil case. I purposely didn't explain the dismissal. On March 27, 2023, 11 days later, the same number as the LA defendants, defendant number 1, Kim Kardashian, posted a series of photos to Instagram. She appears to be wearing a fish scales jumpsuit. Caption, "Don't believe everything you think," followed by a wink emoji. I knew the jumpsuit was a cryptic reference to my recent jumping out of the lawsuit, or dismissed without prejudice. The fish scale patterns made me think of my recently demised cousin, TLC. He was recovered at the Lake Erie Marina at East 55th Street, the place where fishermen fish and dock their boats. Apparent red flag. That caption I perceived to be a warning not to pursue the lawsuit later or go public with the perjuries her family committed under oath. Her second image also had hidden secrets. The sunglasses were removed. Her right knee was slightly off in front of the oblong chair shaped like a boat. Also, a distinct flash of light can be seen in the background. What could all this mean? The fisherman's statement to the Cleveland Metro Parks Police provided a crucial missing piece to the puzzle. A body floating in the causeway, which occurred at 3:29 a.m. East 55th and East 72nd on the 29th day of April. I was fishing and shined my light on the coral between 55th and 72nd. I saw a body and called 911. I was looking for walleye. Their eyes glow in the dark. Unfortunately, that's all I saw. Wow. The fish scales fabric of the jumpsuit likely represents the walleye fish. The flash in the photo represents a fisherman shining his light into their eyes since they glow in the dark. Hence, the flash of light in the background. The knee in front of the boat-shaped chair is TLC's body, discovered by a fisherman while fishing for walleye. Was defendant number 1 depicting a dress rehearsal of what was to come? So it seems. In the third picture, defendant number 1 has the sunglasses back on, with her fur coat draped off her shoulders. It has a Gucci label conspicuously displayed on the lower left. What was its hidden meaning? The Gucci fur coat off the shoulders immediately reminded me of my late girlfriend, Birdie Scratcher. Years ago, I posted her funeral program cover on Instagram. In the image, she has a shoulder shawl faux fur coat. This is apparently what defendant number 1 is mimicking, hinting that a tragic demise dear to me was pending. The Gucci inference was a slang term. She allegedly approved of my cousin TLC's demise. When people use Gucci to refer to something, they express their approval or satisfaction with it. Wow, I thought. But what makes this all even more heinous is that this post was on March 27, 2023. My first cousin disappeared on April 14, 2023. TLC's body was recovered from Lake Erie on April 29, 2023. Out of vindictiveness and revenge, she undeniably premeditated his demise. June 29, 2023. Queen Bee and Extreme Witchcraft. In 2018, Kimberly Thompson, Beyonce's former drummer, was ridiculed for telling the world that Queen Bee, aka Beyonce, practiced dark magic and extreme witchcraft. Fast forward to today, and I'm thoroughly convinced that she was right. The drummer says she hopes others who have been in similar situations are inspired to do the same and stand up for themselves. Don't worry, Kimberly. I've got you. I, too, know firsthand that the living nightmare she put you through was real. But no one likes bullies, particularly demonic ones. Based on information and belief, my first cousin, unbeknownst to the world, was the blood and human sacrifice at defendant number 10's recent Renaissance World Tour. I had the receipts to prove it, and so does this esteemed court. Please indulge my philosophical argument. Of the 4 famous horsemen of the apocalypse, the rider on the 4th pale horse was D-word. The grave was closely following him, according to Revelation chapter 6, verse 8. On May 16, 2023, following a closed casket ceremony, my family laid young Thaddeus to rest. On June 21, 2023, the coroner or medical examiner certified his... I know. I said I had the receipts to prove it. Where is the proof that defendant number 10 was allegedly part of the conspiracy and an accessory to his demise? On June 29, 2023, she posted a series of photos to Instagram. But first, let us use a legal magnifying glass. Federal Rules of Evidence 901. Authenticating and identifying evidence. Subsection B, subsection 4. Distinctive characteristics and the like. The appearance, contents, substance, internal patterns, or other distinctive characteristics of the item, taken together with all the circumstances. 8 days after TLC's demise was certified as self-deleted, intentionally drowned self in the lake, defendant number 10 while wearing a silver-colored seashell dress, exposing her forearms in a defensive posture. As we all know, seashells once contained a living organism, eaten by other marine life. The hard shell eventually washes up on shore, much like a corpse with rigor mortis. In this image, defendant number 10 right arm bears a shoulder-length black glove. Black is typically a color worn at funerals. One commenter reveals her hairstyle. We all know you mean business when you bring out the half up and half down. End of quote. While wearing a silver-colored seashell dress, this defendant opted for a half up and half down hairstyle for her head. An unalive person floating in the water can also be described that way. A portion of their head or body is above and below water. Defendant number 10 now displays a double crisscross using her arms and legs. Cleveland Metro Parks Police report from April 29, 2023. I observed that the descendant was floating vertically with the head up/body straight down in the water. How did she know? And what does the double crisscross mean? The detective writes, on May 5th, 2023, I spoke with Dr. Dolinak, the ME, and he advised that Coleman was positively identified by picture ID. He further stated he performed the autopsy on Coleman and found little trauma, which was not significant. Dr. Dolinak stated there was a cut on Coleman's head. Is that the reason why defendant number 10 took this side profile? Which was probably from the water/rocks. I don't buy that. Crisscross cut marks on the forearms and wrist on each forearm and wrist, which appeared to be minor. Remember the forearms and wrist? Is this why she displayed them in this manner? What is the likelihood of water/rocks creating crisscross marks on each forearm and wrist? If it quacks like a cover-up, then it is a cover-up. Now, this part is going to blow your mind. On April 4th, 2023, defendant number 1 is in the bumper car number 4. Note, the date and the car number are the same. In this series, she also posted an empty bumper car, number 14, on the side of the track. A movie title, Fast and Furious, was the caption, followed by a race car emoji. Was TLC's carjacking and abduction Fast and Furious premeditated for that date, April 14th? But wait, there's more. Also on April 14th, defendant number 1 posted a picture of a ninja with a long, slender sword on her Instagram. Here's where it gets interesting. Do you recall where you saw crisscross slashes? The crisscross markings and slash on the side of TLC's head reminded me of the mock movie poster, I Know What You Did to Me. Tagline, a family secret to die for. Are all these random coincidences or intentional parallels and connections? Is this a satanic celebration, ritualizing my cousin's death by drowning? Note the placement of the black gloved hands. Does that depict TLC's drowning and subsequent floating head above water in Lake Erie? He was positively identified by picture. So, my aunt and uncle never saw the crisscross markings on his forearms. However, defendant number 10 seems to know about the hidden markings he took to the grave. July 18, 2023. Quote, risk, and you shall receive. End of quote. Defendant number 1, Kim Kardashian. Before I left Texas for Ohio, I posted another cyber trap on Instagram. It was something unique for me. I posted a scripture. It started with Jesus. That was on July 13, 2023. The next day, after 5 years away, after the pandemic lifted and the ban on flight travel was removed, I returned to Cleveland, Ohio. On July 15, 2023, I left this voluntary statement with the East Cleveland Police Department. Thaddeus L. Coleman, 33, my cousin, body was retrieved from Cleveland Metro Park's East 55th Street Marinas. The culprits are the named defendants in the civil action lawsuit 22LBCB00090, Los Angeles Superior Court. This heinous crime was in retaliation to the suit and depositions. I filed the suit against the high-profile celebrities I discovered engaging in cybersecurity, cyber attacks, smart devices, laptops, networks. The risk is high, potentially damaging for their high-profile careers and reputations. The suspect said December 2022 to paparazzi, people are sacrificed and come up missing all the time around Hollywood. Please have the detective contact me ASAP for much more information. On July 18, 2023, I secured an interview with 2 detectives at Cleveland Metro Parks Police Headquarters, courtesy of Lieutenant Detective Don Silvas. I presented to the detectives a nearly 1-hour video I produced showing the defendants' various social media posts that revealed their self-incriminating involvement in my cousin's recent demise. Defendant number 1, just hours, not days or weeks, after the interview, posted a veiled D threat to Instagram. In the first image, she appears to be resting. Note the large body of water in the background. In the second image, the photo is taken slightly rotated. The defendant seems to have hoisted her body above the chair. I perceive this to mean dumping and then a floating corpse. Through the lens of Federal Rules of Evidence 901, subsection B, subsection 4, distinctive characteristics and the like, the appearance, content, substance, internal patterns, or other distinctive characteristics of the item, taken together with all the circumstances. Risk, and you shall receive. This is a hybrid of my July 13, 2023 Instagram post. She uses the same terminology, risk, from our voluntary statement left with the East Cleveland Police Department on July 15, 2023. Furthermore, it is a sinister twist on Jesus' famous statement, "Ask and you shall receive," found in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. Ask is replaced with risk. Based on information and belief, East Cleveland Police Department and Cleveland Metro Parks Police told this defendant about my return to Ohio and the on-camera interview. The latter later deleted, or as they said, purged the video. All this information and much more can be reviewed in docket number 46-1, Affidavit for Probable Cause of Thaddeus Lawrence Coleman by the defendants, filed on March 14, 2024. The expedient denials of the two prior fraud exception motions, with all due respect to this esteemed court, were received as dismissive rather than in the interest of justice. Arbitrary decisions were allowed to supersede the facts, the law, and the circuit court's prerequisites for a successful reconsideration, of which the plaintiff met that threshold. If we take a close examination, here are the facts. The court's response to the plaintiff's June 12, 2024 crime fraud exception motion on the same day was, and I quote, order. To the extent the plaintiff's motion relating to the crime fraud exception seeks discovery of information protected by attorney-client privilege, the court denies the motion as premature because the court has not yet conducted an initial case management conference and for failure to comply with Section 6.A of the court's civil standing order. This notice and motion are pursuant to the Ohio Rules of Professional Conduct. Furthermore, the plaintiff invokes the crime fraud exception doctrine. A lawyer may reveal information relating to the representation of a client, including information protected by the attorney-client privilege under applicable law, to the extent the lawyer reasonably believes necessary for any of the following purposes. Subsection 1. To prevent reasonably certain death or substantial bodily harm. Subsection 2. To prevent the commission of a crime by the client or other person. Subsection 6. To comply with other laws or a court order. First and foremost, as the introduction clearly states, the motion was pursuant to the Ohio Rules of Professional Conduct. That has nothing to do with discovery. All attorneys, including the pro hac vice or out-of-state attorneys, must comply with this rule. Secondly, to invoke the crime fraud exception and have court officers report ongoing and potential future crimes, by law, discovery is not a prerequisite. Crime fraud exception only requires prima facie evidence, evidence on its face, until proven otherwise. This is well supported by case law. Invocation of the crime fraud exception does not require definitive proof of a crime or fraud. There need only be prima facie evidence that has some foundation in fact. Clark v. United States 289 U.S. 1, 15, 1933. With all due respect to this esteemed court, if inaccurate assessments, misunderstanding of the plaintiff's objectives, and disregard for clearly defined rules and laws persist in this high-profile, significant case, it jeopardizes its integrity and the judicial process. And I quote, plaintiff's motion for reconsideration of the order dated June 12, 2024, regarding the crime fraud exception presents no fact, change in law, and Your Honor, with all due respect, this particular statement was problematic. or other circumstances justify reconsideration. Therefore, the court denies the motion for reconsideration at this time. Again, Your Honor, respectfully, you don't consider defendant number 10 displaying a hand gesture as a firearm on a social media post other circumstances justifying reconsideration? This defendant knows she has been accused of being a co-conspirator in the abduction and wrongful death of the plaintiff's relative. This is clearly a new civil assault. On January 5th, 2024, the original complaint was filed with this esteemed court. On March 29th, 2024, defendant number 10, Beyonce, released the Cowboy Carter album. The court was informed of her new track, Spaghetti, on her Cowboy Carter album through the crime fraud exception exhibits. An excerpt from the lyrics read, and I quote, "I ain't in no gang, but I got shooters, and I bang, bang. At the snap of my fingers, I'm Thanos." Your Honor, do you know that Thanos is a supervillain, a super criminal? According to Marvel Universe, Thanos, he is perhaps the most evil, bloodthirsty, and powerful villain in the universe. So powerful that religious sects have worshipped him as a god. His enemies include every superhero in existence. He, aka defendant number 10, obsessed with the goddess of D-word, or unalive, and has waged genocidal campaigns in an attempt to appease her. No other circumstances justifying reconsideration. Actually, the facts, evidence, and the law says otherwise. At this critical juncture, with all due respect, humbly, I must ask the court, given the preponderance of the evidence that law enforcement has been compromised, have the high-profile and influential defendants approached and compromised Your Honor too? This esteemed court is well aware of the alleged wrongful death of the plaintiff's cousin and the alleged civil assaults or threats to his life by the defendants. These civil and criminal allegations require the utmost lawful considerations in the interest of justice. I sincerely thank this esteemed court for the opportunity to present this voluntary oral argument.
I know what you did to me.
My people of faith will appreciate this. Lately, there have been attacks on Christianity. And no wonder, for Satan himself keeps disguising himself as an angel of light. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. Light is an illuminating force of power. Based on information and belief, the defendants are domestic terrorists and a threat to national security. has heard you on. No, not that one. This one. Last name Newton.